Welcome to eSonMicro-LAB. This is Part 3, C# Conditional Loops. In this tutorial, we will review if-else statement, switch statement, while in do-while loops, foreach loops. Please don't forget to subscribe and turn on the notifications. Please let me know in the comments section any feedback you may have. Your opinion is very much appreciated. If-else statement. One of the very commonly used statements in any programming language is the use of if statement. Arguably, conditional loops such as if statement is one of the most used block of code while developing logic in our program. We often evaluate conditions, and the results of the outcome will lead us to the next step. In C#, the result of comparing a condition using if statement returns either true or false. Now, let's go to Visual Studios and try some examples. I have already created a project, conditional loop. So in this project, we will create a very simple user menu where the user can select his or her gender. So let's go ahead and start creating some variables of integer type, and gender male is equal to 1, integer, gender female is equal to 2, integer, gender unknown is equal to 3, and integer selected gender is equal to 0. We are just initializing our variables. Now let's go ahead and create our menu, console.writeLine. Please select your gender. And let's copy this and paste it maybe a few times and do a little bit of formatting. And this one would be 1 for male, 2 for female, and let's copy this one, paste, and 3 for unknown. Okay, so let's copy these two here, and let's go at the end and do this, paste them, and let's go ahead and ask the user to select a number. Please select a number. Okay, so let's go ahead and run the application to see how it looks. Okay, so it looks good. We have our menu items, and we also have please select a number. So this is the prompt for the user to select an option. So let's capture the user input. Selected gender is equal to console.readLine. So we are getting an error over here saying that cannot implicitly convert type string to an integer. We will review conversion type in our next tutorial, but for right now, let's go ahead and fix this issue. Int.parse. What really happens here is that when the user presses a key, the return value is a string type. So we need to convert that to an integer. All right, if selected gender is equal to gender male, console.writeLine, you have selected male. And let's put a semicolon here, and let's go ahead and copy this and paste it a few times. Okay, now let's go ahead and change this one to female, change this one to unknown, and change this description to female, and change this one to unknown. Let's go ahead and run our application. Okay, so let's press 1. You have selected male. Let's run it again. Let's press 3 this time. You have selected unknown. So let's then make some modification to our if statement. We can say else. Similarly, else. And now at the very end, we'll do another else. Console.writeLine. you have selected an invalid option. So basically what happens, if none of these if statements come true, then the last one would be you have selected an invalid option. So if a user does not press 1, 2, or 3, and if the user presses any other number, then this message would be displayed saying that you have selected an invalid option. So let's go ahead and run our application. Select 2, you have selected female, which is fine. And let's run this again. So let's do a 6. You have selected an invalid option. So our application works as expected. However, whenever we try and we select one option, then the application ends and we have to run it again to select another option. So later when we do while in do-while loop, we will make this application, or we will provide the user with the ability to try again, yes or no. Switch statement. Switch statement is most useful when one block of code is to be executed among many. During the execution, the switch expression is executed first. Depending on the number of case blocks, each case block is examined for a match. If there is a match, the code block for the associated case is executed and the process ends. If no match was found, the process continues to the next block till it reaches the default block of code. The default block normally indicates an unmatched process, and depending on the logic, the default code block is executed. Now, let's go to Visual Studios and try some examples. We will use the same application that we created earlier and just make some modification and change the if statement to a switch statement. Switch, selected gender, case 1, case 2, and case 3. So let's copy Control C and we'll paste it here, and we're also going to paste it here and with our third case. So this is fine, and let's change this one to female. Let's change this one to unknown. We'll need to add a break every case that we have. Break. Similarly for the last one, break. So we are done with our cases. So let's do the last one, which is the default. Default, and let's do a Control V, and we'll go ahead and type in you have selected an invalid option. All right, and let's create a break here. So we have an error, and we need to put a colon here instead of semicolon. Okay, let's get rid of all of this if and else statement that we don't need, and let's run our application to see how it works. So 1, you have selected male, which is fine. So let's try this again and select 3. You have selected unknown, which is fine. And the last one, let's go ahead and select a 6. You have selected an invalid option. While and do-while loop. While loop is designed to repeatedly evaluate a block of code until a predefined condition is met. The result of comparing a condition using while loop must return either true or false. Another variant of while loop is the do-while loop, where prior to examining the true or false conditions, it executes the code block first and repeating the loop till the condition is met. Now, let's switch to Visual Studios. So we will be using the same application that we created earlier, and in this one we will provide the user with the option to try again or exit out of the application. So at the very beginning, let's create another variable type of a string this time, and let's say try again. We'll make that equal to yes, and we will not need these variables anymore, so let's comment them out. While try again equal to yes, delete this one and come all the way at the end, add our brackets right here. Okay, What we are saying that is, while try again is equal to yes, continue looping throughout this until this value changes. So let's go ahead and run our applications to see how it works. 1, I'll try again. 2, 3. So what is happening here? We are sitting in a loop, and this will continue till this value changes. So how are we going to go ahead and change this value? So let's go ahead at the end, console.writeLine. Would you like to try again? Press yes or any other key to exit. Next, console.readLine, and we'll make whatever the user input is, we'll make that equal to try again is equal to console.readLine. So whatever the user types in, the try again value will change. So basically what we are looking for is that if the user presses yes, then we'll go through the loop again, and if the user presses any other key, we will exit out of the loop. So let's try our application now. So if I press 1 and you have selected mail, would you like to try again? Press yes or any other key to exit. So if I just press a space bar, we are exiting out of the application. Let's put some formatting here, console.writeLine. So let's put some asterisks here so we can. So let's go ahead and run our application one more time. If we press 1 for mail, you have selected mail. Now, would you like to try again? Press yes or any other key to exit. Press yes. Here we go back to our menu. We select 3. You have selected unknown. Would you like to try again? So let's just this time type yes. We are exiting out of the application. So what is really happening here is that the user must type yes with uppercase Y. Otherwise, it will exit out of the application. So let's change this one to uppercase yes. Similarly, let's change this one to uppercase yes. And when we are reading the user input, so we can change this one to uppercase. So it really doesn't matter if the user types yes with uppercase Y or lowercase y. So as soon as we read the keys, we change it to uppercase, and our application should perform fine. So let's go ahead and run it now. So let's click 2, and now let's say just we type yes or maybe lowercase yes. So we have our menu back. Try again, and would you like to try again? So let's do all uppercase yes, select 2, and just say no, and we'll exit out of the application. So what we've done, we are using the same switch statement. However, we are adding a loop to it. While try again is equal to yes, continue through the loop till the user presses no or any other key to end the application. So we've seen how while works. Now let's go ahead and change our code and make it do while. So what we need to do is simply replace this one with do, and we'll come at the bottom, and while try again is equal to yes. Now let's go ahead and run our application. 1, you've selected mail. Would you like to try again? Then yes. And we get our menu again, so let's do A2. Would you like to try again? Just say no, and we exit out of our application. For loop. For loop executes a block of code repeatedly until a known count is reached. In other words, for loop is used when the count of loop is predefined. Now, let's go to Visual Studios and try some examples. For loop. In this project, we will create a very simple array of type integer. If you're not familiar with arrays, please see my video on arrays. And brackets for array, name of array, my array, equal to new of type int, and the size would be 6, and semicolon. Now let's create some array elements. My array 0, that's the first index, is equal to 1. And let's copy this and paste it a few times. And let's change each index 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And also let's change the values 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So as we have discussed earlier, in order to use for statement, we need to know the size of our array 4, and array count is equal to 0, semicolon, array count smaller than my array dot length, semicolon, array count plus plus. So basically, for loop has three main parts. The first part is we will have to set up a counter, which is array count, and it starts with 0. Then we need to set our condition, where the array count is smaller than the array size. And last, we will increment our array count by 1. So let's print out the results, console.writeLine. So we include the array name, which is my array, and within brackets, we'll go ahead and copy the array count and close it with semicolon. Let's go ahead and run our application. So as you can tell, we are counting our arrays 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So basically, this is how for loop works. First, we set up a count, then we set up our condition, and then we increment our count by 1, and we output the results. For each loop, another variant of for loop is for each loop, providing an easier method to loop through array and collections in evaluating each item in an array or in a collection. Now, let's switch to Visual Studios. Continuing with our example that we've created earlier, where we use for loop to go through each element of the array. So another variant of for loop is for each loop, providing an easier method to loop through arrays and collections. So when we use for each loop, we really don't need to know the length or the size of our array. For example, for each and count 1 in my array. Let's copy this and just paste it here. Copy count 1, paste it here, and semicolon. So basically what is really happening here in this statement, so each time when the process goes through each element of the array, it copies each element one at a time and puts it into our count1 variable. In here we are printing the results. So let's run our application to see how it works. So as you can see, the results are as expected. So let me go ahead and try to comment these out. Run again. So here we see the results are as expected. This is the end of this tutorial. Please don't forget to subscribe and click on the notifications. Thank you for watching and have a wonderful day.